Stop. Just stop for a moment. Take a breath. Because if you are hearing these words right now, something inside you may already be changing. You may not have the proof yet. You may not understand why certain people are leaving, why old plans suddenly feel empty, or why the life you once wanted no longer feels like the life you are meant to live. But you are not here by accident. There is a story about a book that never appeared on any shelf, never showed up in any bookstore, and could not be found by someone who was simply curious. It only appeared when a person was ready, ready to lose an old identity, ready to face a truth they had been avoiding, ready to cross a threshold that could never be uncrossed. And if this book has somehow found its way into your life, then you need to ask yourself one question. What if the strange things happening around you are not signs that your life is falling apart? What if they are signs that your old life is no longer big enough for you? You have felt it, haven't you? That quiet distance growing between you and certain people. The sudden need to be alone. The feeling that conversations which once excited you now leave you tired. The strange sense that something is coming, even though you cannot explain what it is. You may have called it confusion. You may have called it loneliness. You may have even wondered if something was wrong with you. But what if nothing is wrong? What if you are standing at the edge of a threshold? There is a principle hidden inside every transformation. Before one reality changes, the old one begins to lose its grip. That is why you are being asked to let go. Not because you are being punished, because you are being prepared. And here is the part that changes everything. You won the resonance match. You may not know what that means yet, so stay with me. Imagine walking through an ancient desert at night. There is no road, no sign, no light except the stars above you. You have been walking for hours, carrying memories, disappointments, broken promises, and questions you were too afraid to ask. Then, in the distance, you see a golden light. You walk toward it. The light grows stronger. And there, standing alone in the desert, is a massive wooden door. No building. No walls. Just a door. You reach for the handle. And the moment your hand touches it, something happens. The door opens. But behind it is not another desert. It is a library. Thousands of books fill the walls, stretching higher than you can see. Some glow softly. Some appear completely dark. Some have no titles at all. And then you notice one thing. There is only one book lying open on the table in front of you. Your name is written inside it. You reach toward the page. But before you can read the first line, you hear a voice behind you. You were not brought here to learn who you were. You turn around. There is no one there. The voice continues. You were brought here to remember. And suddenly, every painful moment you thought had broken you begins to look different. The relationship that ended. The opportunity you lost. The person who walked away. The doors that refused to open. The nights when you questioned yourself. Maybe those moments were not the end of your story. Maybe they were removing everything that could not cross the threshold with you. This is why you are ready. Not because you have everything figured out. Because you finally reached the point where you can no longer pretend that your old life satisfies your soul. And listen carefully. Sometimes the door closes because your future is standing on the other side. That is the viral line you need to remember. Because you have probably spent too much time staring at doors that closed. You asked why. You begged for another chance. You wondered why someone else got chosen while you were left behind. But what if the closed door was never meant to be your destination? What if it was the signal? What if the silence was the transmission? What if the emptiness was making space? You are entering a different chapter now. And the first sign may not look beautiful. It may look like uncertainty. It may feel like everything familiar is becoming unfamiliar. But don't run from that feeling yet. Because there is something inside this mysterious book that you have not seen. And when you finally read the next page, you may understand why your life had to become quiet before it could become powerful. Take another breath. And stay here. Because the book has only just opened. The page turns by itself. Slowly. Almost as if the book knows you are watching. And for a moment, there are no words. Only a single symbol appears in the center of the page. A glowing circle surrounded by 7 small marks. You stare at it. Then something strange happens. One of the marks disappears. Then another. Then another. Until only one remains. A small golden point of light. And suddenly, you understand something you cannot explain. The book is not showing you the future. It is showing you what you are ready to see. You look closer, and beneath the golden point, a sentence begins to form. You cannot enter the new frequency while holding tightly to the old one. You freeze. Because you know exactly what that means. You have been trying to move forward while still carrying things that belong to your past. An old version of yourself. An old fear. An old relationship. An old dream. Even an old idea of who you were supposed to become. You wanted a new life, but a part of you was still asking for permission to remain the same. And that is where the real breakthrough begins. Not when everything outside you changes. When something inside you finally says, enough. Now let me take you somewhere. Far beyond the golden library, beyond the desert and the glowing door, there was once a woman named Izara. Izara had spent years believing that her life was waiting for her to become someone else. She thought she needed more confidence, more money, more approval, more answers. She kept waiting for the perfect moment, but the perfect moment never came. Instead, life kept taking things away. One friend disappeared from her life without explanation. Then the person she loved chose someone else. Then the work she had spent years building suddenly ended. Within a few months, almost everything familiar was gone. One evening, Izara sat alone beside her window. Rain tapped against the glass. Her phone was silent. The room was dark. She looked at herself in the reflection and whispered, "What am I supposed to do now?" No answer. She closed her eyes. And then she heard a soft sound, a page turning. Izara opened her eyes. There was a book on her desk. She had never seen it before. It was old, covered in dark blue leather, with no title on the cover. Her hands began to shake. She opened it. The first page was completely blank. The second page was blank too. Then she reached the third page. 3 words appeared. "You are ready." Izara stared at them. "No," she whispered. The words changed. "You are ready." She stepped away from the desk. The book remained open. Then another sentence appeared beneath it. "You thought you were being abandoned." A pause. "But you were being released." Izara sat down slowly. Tears filled her eyes. Because suddenly, every goodbye began to feel different. Every person who left. Every plan that failed. Every door that closed. She had spent years asking, "Why wasn't I enough?" But the book seemed to be asking a different question. What if you were never meant to stay there? That question broke something inside her. Not in a painful way, in a freeing way. And this is where your story connects to hers. Because maybe you have been asking the wrong question too. Maybe you keep asking why something did not work. When the deeper question is, what was it making room for? You lost something. But what did that loss create space for? Someone walked away. But what part of yourself did you finally have to meet? A dream failed. But what new direction did that failure reveal? This is how the threshold works. The old path becomes uncomfortable before the new path becomes visible. And here's what no one tells you. The moment before a breakthrough can look exactly like a breakdown. Izara turned another page. This time, there was a drawing of a massive city made entirely of light. Golden towers. Bridges floating between clouds. Thousands of glowing windows. At the center stood a huge gate. But the gate was closing. Izara leaned closer. Why is the gate closing? A sentence appeared beneath the image. Because you keep looking backward. She slowly turned around. Behind her, the room had changed. The people she had lost were standing there. The old version of herself was standing there too. Every fear. Every regret. Every what if. All of them were waiting. And the golden gate in front of her was getting smaller. Izara understood. She had a choice. Return to what was familiar, or walk toward what she could not yet understand. She took one step forward. The gate stopped closing. She took another. The entire city began to glow. And then the book revealed the truth. The gate had never been waiting for the perfect person. It had been waiting for the willing one. The one who was finally ready to stop begging the past to come back. The one who could say, "I don't know what happens next, but I am willing to find out." And maybe that is exactly where you are standing right now. You don't have every answer. You don't know how the next chapter will unfold. But something inside you already knows. You cannot go back. And once you understand why that feeling is happening, you will finally see what the mysterious book has been trying to show you all along. Because the next page contains a message that was never meant for everyone. It was written specifically for the person who had reached the threshold. And the moment Izara read it, the entire library went silent. The library went completely silent. Not quiet. Silent. The kind of silence where even your own breathing feels too loud. Izara stared at the page. A single line appeared. Before you receive what you asked for, you must release what you became to survive without it. She read it once. Then again. Her fingers moved slowly across the words. What does that mean? She whispered. The book answered. You already know. Izara closed her eyes. And suddenly, memories began appearing around her like reflections on glass. She saw herself smiling when she wanted to cry, saying, I'm fine, when she was falling apart, accepting less because she was afraid of being alone, staying quiet because she feared losing people, working harder to prove she was worthy, apologizing when she had done nothing wrong. And then she saw something that hurt even more. She saw the version of herself who had once believed she could become anything. That girl was still there, buried beneath years of fear. Izara reached toward the image. I forgot her. The book turned another page. No, you protected her. Izara's eyes filled with tears. Because that was the truth. She had not become weak. She had simply learned how to survive. And sometimes survival teaches you habits that become prisons long after the danger is gone. Maybe you know that feeling. You became careful because someone hurt you. You became silent because nobody listened. You stopped expecting much because disappointment became too familiar. You learned to say goodbye before anyone could leave you. You learned to hide your dreams because people laughed at them. And slowly, without realizing it, you built an identity around everything you had survived. But listen carefully. That identity helped you survive. It does not have to lead you into your future. The page began glowing again. 3 words appeared. Choose yourself now. Izara stood. The moment she did, the entire library changed. The shelves began moving. Books disappeared. Walls opened. A long golden hallway appeared ahead. At the end of it was another door. But this door was different. It had no handle, no lock, no keyhole, only a small symbol in the center. A circle. Izara walked toward it. With every step, she heard voices behind her. Don't go. You'll fail. You're not ready. Who do you think you are? Come back. The voices grew louder. But Izara kept walking. Then she stopped. Because one voice sounded different. It was her own. You are going to lose everything. She turned around. And there she was. Her old self. Standing in the hallway. The same face. The same eyes. But filled with fear. You can't leave me, the old Izara said. Izara took a slow breath. I don't want to leave you. The old version looked confused. I want to take you with me. The hallway became still. Izara stepped closer. You protected me when I didn't know how to protect myself. You carried things I couldn't carry. You kept going when I wanted to give up. She reached for her own hand. But you don't have to fight anymore. The old Izara began to disappear. Not like death. Like a shadow fading when sunlight arrives. And for the first time, Izara felt light. The door had opened. Beyond it was the city of light she had seen in the book. But now it was real. Golden streets stretched into the distance. Bridges floated between towers. A river of light moved through the center of the city. And above everything, there was a huge glowing sky filled with moving patterns. Frequency. Resonance. Transmission. Activation. It looked like the entire city was alive. Izara stepped forward. Then she noticed something strange. There were thousands of doors throughout the city. Some were open. Some were locked. Some were disappearing. And every door had a name. She walked past one marked love. Another said purpose. Another said abundance. Another said peace. Then she saw a door with her name on it. Izara stopped. Her heart began racing. She reached toward the handle. But before she touched it, the book appeared beside her again. It opened to a final message. You thought the breakthrough was finding the door. A pause. The breakthrough is becoming the person who can walk through it. Izara stared at the words. And suddenly, everything made sense. The book had never been magical because it could predict her future. It was powerful because it forced her to see herself clearly. And that changes everything. Because you may be waiting for a sign. You may be waiting for someone to tell you that you are ready. You may be waiting for the universe to make the path obvious. But what if the sign is already here? What if the discomfort you feel is not confusion? What if it is movement? You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not being punished by life. You may simply be standing between two versions of yourself. And that space can feel lonely. Because the old version knows you. The new version doesn't exist yet. So you stand in the middle, wondering who you are becoming. But here is the truth. The moment you stop chasing the old life, the new life finally has room to find you. Remember that. Say it quietly if you need to. The old life does not have to hate you. The people who left do not have to be villains. The failures do not have to be meaningless. Sometimes they are simply signs that your frequency has changed. And when your frequency changes, your choices change. Your boundaries change. Your attention changes. Your courage changes. And slowly, your reality begins responding to the person you are becoming. Izara placed her hand on the door with her name. The moment she touched it, the entire city went dark. Every light disappeared. Every bridge vanished. Every sound stopped. And a voice whispered from somewhere beyond the door. Are you sure you want to know what happens after you cross? Izara looked at the book. One final page began turning by itself. And what appeared there made her step backward. Because the book was no longer showing her future. It was showing her something about the person watching this story right now. The page showed a reflection. Not Izara. You. For a few seconds, she could not understand what she was seeing. The face inside the book was not standing in the Golden City. It was sitting somewhere else. Somewhere ordinary. Somewhere familiar. And yet the eyes were looking directly at her. Then words appeared beneath the reflection. You are watching because you are next. Izara stepped away from the book. No. The letters changed. You have already crossed the first threshold. She looked around the empty city. What threshold? The answer appeared slowly. The moment you stopped being satisfied with the person you used to be. Izara's breathing became shallow. And perhaps yours did too. Because think about it. Why did you click this? Why did these words hold your attention when you could have watched something else? Why did a simple story about a mysterious book feel strangely personal? Maybe it is because something in you recognizes the message. You have reached a point where pretending is becoming harder. Pretending that you are happy when you are not. Pretending that you still want what you once wanted. Pretending that certain people still belong in your life. Pretending that fear is the same thing as wisdom. It isn't. Sometimes fear is simply the voice of an old identity trying to protect its place. And this is where the story becomes deeper. The book showed Izara a room she had never seen before. It was small. There was a wooden chair in the center. A mirror stood against the wall. And beside the mirror was a single candle. The flame was barely moving. Izara entered. The door closed behind her. She looked into the mirror. At first, she saw herself. Then the reflection changed. She saw herself 5 years earlier. Then 10 years earlier. Then she saw a little girl. A girl who still believed the world was full of possibilities. The little girl looked into Izara's eyes. You promised me, she said. Izara swallowed. Promised you what? That one day we would stop being afraid. Izara's eyes filled with tears. I tried. The little girl shook her head. You survived. A long silence followed. That's not the same thing. Those words broke through her. Because sometimes you can survive for so long that you forget survival was never supposed to be the final destination. You were supposed to live, to create, to love, to take risks, to become someone your younger self would recognize. Izara reached toward the mirror. The little girl placed her hand against the other side. The candle suddenly became brighter. Then the mirror cracked. But it did not break. Instead, every crack filled with golden light. And the book spoke. Your past is not your prison. The words disappeared. Another sentence appeared. It is the place from which you learned how to open the door. Izara smiled through her tears. For the first time, she understood. She didn't need to erase her past. She needed to stop letting it control her future. And maybe you need to hear that too. You don't have to become fearless. You don't have to know every answer. You don't need everyone to understand your journey. You only need enough courage to take the next step. One step. Then another. That is how thresholds are crossed. Not in one giant moment, but through small choices that slowly change the person making them. Izara left the room. The Golden City had returned. But now something was different. The doors were opening, one after another. Love, purpose, peace, abundance, freedom, not because she had demanded them, because she was finally prepared to receive them without abandoning herself. Then she saw the final door. It was larger than all the others. There was no name on it. Only one sentence. Everything you asked for is waiting beyond this point. Izara reached for the handle. But before she opened it, she heard the same voice again. Remember. She stopped. The breakthrough will not always feel like a miracle. The door began glowing. Sometimes it will feel like a goodbye. Izara looked back at the city, at every person she had lost, every dream that had failed, every version of herself she had outgrown. And instead of asking them to stay, she smiled. Thank you. Then she opened the door. A wave of golden light filled the entire city. And somewhere far beyond that mysterious library, someone else opened their eyes. Someone who had been waiting. Someone who had been questioning. Someone who had been feeling that strange pull towards something they could not explain. Someone like you. And here is the part that should make you pay attention. The book had not chosen Izara because she was special. It appeared because she was ready. And if you are hearing this now, maybe you are standing at your own threshold. Maybe your closed doors are not rejection. Maybe your unanswered questions are not punishment. Maybe the silence you have been experiencing is not emptiness. Maybe it is preparation. So take a breath. Look at your life honestly. Ask yourself, what am I still holding that I already know I have outgrown? Who am I still trying to impress? What fear keeps making decisions for me? What dream keeps returning no matter how many times I push it away? Because your answers may reveal the next page. And when you are ready to turn it, something unexpected happens. The mysterious book closes. The golden city disappears. The desert returns. And in the middle of the sand, there is a second book. But this one is not glowing. It is completely black. And written across its cover are 5 words. Read this only if ready. Izara reaches toward it. And the moment her fingers touch the cover, she hears your voice. Your voice. But Izara has never heard you before. She slowly pulls her hand away from the black book. The desert is completely still. No wind. No footsteps. No sound. Then your voice comes again. Open it. Izara looks down. The words on the cover begin changing. Read this only if ready. Then, you are already ready. She touches the cover again. The black book opens. The first page is completely empty. Izara waits. Nothing happens. She turns the page. Still nothing. Another page. Nothing. She almost closes the book when a tiny golden sentence appears at the bottom of the page. Stop looking for a sign. Izara freezes. The sentence continues. Your life has already been speaking. She sits down in the sand. And suddenly, the book begins showing moments from her life. The morning she woke up knowing she needed to leave a job that no longer felt right. The night she cried after someone she loved walked away. The day she ignored her own dream because someone told her it was impossible. The moment she stood in front of the mirror and promised herself she would change. Then forgot the promise the next morning. One memory after another. But there was something strange about them. Every painful moment contained a small golden light. Izara leaned closer. What are those? The book answered. Choices. She watched carefully. In every moment when she had felt lost, there had been a tiny opening. A chance to choose differently. A chance to speak. A chance to leave. A chance to begin. A chance to believe herself. She simply hadn't recognized them. And now the book showed her why. Because sometimes the breakthrough doesn't arrive as a huge event. Sometimes it arrives as a quiet decision no one else notices. You stop replying to the person who keeps draining you. You finally apply for the opportunity you were afraid to try. You forgive yourself for something you cannot change. You wake up and decide that your past will no longer control your choices. You say no without explaining yourself for 20 minutes. You say yes to something that scares you. Small choices, but repeated enough times. They become a new life. Izara turned another page. This time, there was only one sentence. Your future is built from the moments you stop betraying yourself. She closed her eyes. That sentence hurt, because she remembered every time she had known the truth, and ignored it. Every time her heart said no, and she said yes. Every time she wanted to leave, but stayed because she was afraid. Every time she wanted to begin, but waited for permission. And now she understood the real meaning of the threshold. It was not a magical gate somewhere in another world. It was the moment inside you when you finally choose your own truth. The desert began changing. Sand turned into golden ground. The sky filled with thousands of tiny lights. And the black book lifted into the air. Its pages began turning faster, until they stopped on one final page. There was no prophecy, no promise of wealth, no guarantee that everything would suddenly become easy. Instead, there was a message. Your new life will still have storms. Izara stared at it. Then another sentence appeared. But you will no longer be the same person standing in the storm. That changed everything. Because you were never promised a life without pain. You were being prepared for a life where pain would no longer define you. You will still have difficult days. You will still question yourself. You will still lose people. You will still face uncertainty. But something inside you will be different. You will recover faster. You will trust yourself more. You will stop begging closed doors to open. You will stop chasing people who have already chosen to leave. You will stop shrinking so someone else can feel comfortable. And one day, you will look back at the person you used to be and realize you were not waiting for your life to change. You were becoming strong enough to change it. Your breakthrough begins the moment you stop asking the past for permission to enter your future. Remember that. Let it stay with you. Because this is where Izara discovered something even deeper. The book had never been predicting what would happen to her. It had been showing her what she could become. And that meant the final page was not an ending. It was an invitation. The golden city began disappearing. The library faded. The desert became quiet again. Izara looked down. The black book was gone. But one small golden page remained in her hands. On it were 3 instructions. Breathe. Release. Choose. She read them slowly. Then the first instruction changed. Breathe, because you are still here. The second, release, because you cannot carry everything into your next chapter. The third, choose, because your next identity is waiting for your decision. Izara closed her eyes. She took one deep breath. And for the first time in years, she didn't ask what would happen tomorrow. She simply said, I'm ready. The moment she spoke those words, the golden light returned. And this time, it didn't come from the book. It came from her. The story should end there. But it doesn't. Because there is one final thing the book wanted her to understand. And it may be the most important message of all. The book was never searching for someone who had no fear. It was searching for someone who would move forward despite it. Someone who had been hurt, but still chose love. Someone who had lost, but still chose hope. Someone who had been rejected, but still chose themselves. Someone who had been broken, but refused to believe they were finished. And maybe that is why you are here. Not because everything is perfect, because something inside you has refused to give up. So if you feel that strange pull right now, don't ignore it. Take a breath. Put your hand over your heart and quietly say, I am ready for what comes next. Then wait, because the next page is not about what you need to receive. It is about what you need to release. And once you understand what that is, the final door begins to open. The final door begins to open. Slowly, not with a loud sound, not with some dramatic explosion, just a quiet movement. As if something on the other side has been waiting for you to make the first choice. Izara stands in front of it. She can see nothing beyond the opening. Only darkness. She takes one step closer. Then she hears a whisper. What are you willing to leave behind? Izara doesn't answer. The question comes again. What are you willing to leave behind? She looks at her hands. For years, she had carried invisible things. Regret, fear, old promises, other people's opinions. The need to be understood. The need to be chosen. The need to prove that she was worthy. She had carried them so long that she forgot they were heavy. But now, she begins placing them down, one by one. The fear of being alone. Gone. The need to control everything. Gone. The old story that she was not enough. Gone. The belief that every closed door meant failure. Gone. With every release, the door opens wider. And then Izara realizes something. The door was never locked. She was the one holding it closed. That realization changes her completely. Because maybe your door has been like that too. You have been waiting for the right person, the right opportunity, the right sign, the right moment. But perhaps the real question has never been, when will my life change? Perhaps it has been, when will I stop standing in my own way? You don't have to fix your entire life tonight. You don't have to understand everything. You don't have to know exactly where you are going. You only have to release the thing you already know is keeping you stuck. Maybe it is a person. Maybe it is a fear. Maybe it is an old belief. Maybe it is the version of yourself you created just to survive. Whatever it is, you already know. And if you don't know yet, sit quietly with yourself. Take a breath. Ask the question, what am I afraid to release? Then wait. Don't force an answer. Sometimes the truth arrives quietly. A memory, a name, a feeling, a sentence you suddenly remember. And when it comes, don't run from it. That is your threshold. Izara steps through the door. On the other side is not the golden city, not the library, not the desert. It is her own life. But everything looks different. Her old home is still there. The same streets. The same sky. The same world. Yet she feels different inside it. She sees people who once controlled her emotions and realizes they no longer have that power. She sees old failures and no longer feels ashamed. She sees the road ahead. And for the first time, she doesn't need to know where it ends. She simply starts walking. And then something extraordinary happens. The mysterious book appears one final time. It floats beside her. She opens it. The pages are blank. All of them. Izara smiles. She finally understands. There is no fixed script. No perfect future written somewhere waiting for her. The next chapter belongs to her. And that is the real secret. The book appears when your soul is ready. But it does not tell you what to do. It reminds you that you can choose. You can begin again. You can change direction. You can become someone new without hating who you used to be. You can walk away without needing revenge. You can forgive without returning. You can love without losing yourself. You can dream again. And perhaps most importantly, you can stop waiting for someone else to confirm that you are ready. Because you are. You have already survived the days you thought would destroy you. You have already walked through nights when you couldn't see the morning. You have already lost things you thought you could never live without. And somehow, you're still here. Still breathing. Still hoping. Still searching. Still becoming. That is not weakness. That is evidence. Evidence that something inside you refuses to die. So if this message found you at the right moment, don't treat it like another video. Treat it like a mirror. Ask yourself what your life has been trying to tell you. What door keeps closing? What keeps leaving? What are you finally outgrowing? What dream keeps returning? What part of you keeps whispering? There has to be more? Maybe there is. And maybe the next chapter doesn't begin when the universe gives you a sign. Maybe it begins when you give yourself permission. Permission to stop. Permission to release. Permission to choose. Permission to become. So take one final deep breath and repeat this slowly. I release what no longer belongs to me. I trust the path I cannot fully see. I choose the person I am becoming. And one more time, I am ready. Because sometimes the most powerful transformation begins with 4 simple words. I am ready for more. If those words mean something to you, write them in the comments. I am ready for more. Let that be your promise to yourself. And if this story reached you at exactly the moment you needed it, stay connected, because the next message may take you even deeper. There are some doors you can only see after you stop looking backward. And there are some books that only open after you finally become ready to read them.